Well, it was the Bombshell TV interview that rocked the royal family.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Now a new book is shedding light on what really happened when Princess Diana sat down with the BBC for a tell-all interview in 1995.
Diana Rama promises to uncover the lies and deceit during the lead-up and fallout from the interview. And we're happy to say author Andy Webb joins us now from London. Thanks for your time, Andy. We've all seen that interview, but there's a dark web of lies at the heart of this story. So how was Princess Diana so deceived?
Well, that's a really big question. I mean, what we've just seen there is a line, even though this interview was 30 years ago, so many people around the world are going to remember, if nothing else, they're going to remember that line. And what they've actually got to know is that what Princess Diana is doing there, tragically, I don't call this an interview at all. It's not an interview in terms of somebody honestly seeking information from somebody else. What had happened, Martin Bashir had filled Diana's head with such frightening, terrifying things, including the lie that Prince Charles, now King Charles, was going to have her murdered, was going to have Camilla Parker Bowles murdered. Why? In order, it was said, to marry the nanny that he was employing, Tiggy Legg Burke. What Martin Bashir had done was to fill Diana's head with such terrifying things that the only way out of this, he had explained to her, was to go onto Panorama, and effectively do two things. The first thing, let Buckingham Palace know that she's not going to go anywhere, that she won't be scared out of her position. She's not going to go anywhere. And the second thing is she's going to put a huge question mark over the suitability of Prince Charles to become king. So this wasn't an interview at all. When she sits there saying, oh yeah, there were three of us in this marriage, at that point in history, Diana is not the least concerned about Camilla Parker Bowles, because she has been told by Martin Bashir that Prince Charles is actually chasing the nanny, that he wants to marry her and take away the kids, the boys, William and Harry. So when I see that interview, and it's so sad, and Diana's family, of course, find it incredibly sad, as William himself has said. The interview holds, the word he used, it holds no legitimacy. It is not an interview at all. It's a performance, a double act, and a tragic one.
And it's so disturbing looking back on it 30 years later. Now, Andy, you worked at the BBC. When did you first hear that something was wrong with how Martin Bashir had secured this interview?
Well, yeah, as you said, I did work at the BBC for getting on for 20 years. People knew really right away. I mean, within days of the interview appearing, there were questions being raised about how it was obtained, how this completely unknown reporter, Martin Bashir, as somebody said to me slightly unkindly, somebody who was not even a household name in their own household, how had he got this interview when people like, even back then, Oprah Winfrey, David Frost, Barbara Walters, a big figure at the time, had been chasing down. How did this guy get it? So immediately questions were being raised. What happened, and this is a story that really spans 30 years, so I'll headlines, as it were. As early as 1996, a newspaper here in the UK, the Mail on Sunday, got very, very, very close indeed to exposing the whole scandal. They were able to establish that Martin Bashir had commissioned 2 forged bank statements. They knew that much, but the BBC did not reveal, although the BBC knew very well at the time that these fake forgeries had been used to con Diana's brother, Charles Spencer. The BBC knew that, but they didn't reveal that. So the scandal didn't emerge when it should have done. But I mean, this interview had, if you like, a bad smell around it for years and years and years. It took until 2020, though, for the full scandalous truth to emerge through work that I had done, and because of the work that I had done, Charles Spencer, Diana's brother, came forward with the notes and the background documents that he had kept all those years, proving just how, duplicitous and mendacious and wicked Martin Bashir had been.
Andy, am I right in saying Princess Diana's brother believes the consequences of this interview were lethal, in his words? How much do you connect that interview with Diana's death nearly 2 years later?
Absolutely. I mean, lethal is the word that Charles Spencer used to me. And I've got to say to you, and I recounted in the book, he gives a very, very considered answer to the question, is there a line from Panorama to Paris? Where Diana died, of course, August 31, 1997, just a little over 18 months after this fateful interview. She's in Paris, she's being driven by the drunken driver in the Mercedes, and she dies. So is there a line between the two? And he's obviously considered this deeply over the years. What happened after the interview? What happened because of what Martin Bashir had caused Diana to believe was that she could not trust the people around her. She couldn't trust her private secretary, Patrick Jefferson, who'd been with her for 8 years. He's gone. She fires her chauffeur because she's been told he's a spy. He's gone. She did away with the formal security, the police security who had encircled her. They're gone. So she finds herself in Paris in this kind of ramshackle so-called security operation run by Mohammed Al-Fayed, the father of her boyfriend Dodi Fayed. It goes even further than that, though, that her life, Diana's life after the interview, really kind of went off the rails. The letter from the Queen demanding a divorce arrived literally 1 month after the interview aired. So the interview goes out November 20, 1995. The letter comes from Windsor Castle, December 20, saying, that's it, time for a divorce, you're going to get divorced. So the following 18 months of Diana's life were really, really rather chaotic. The word I've used in the book is untethered. I mean, her life was always pretty wild and busy and roaming around the world, but those 18 months were the most chaotic of all. And her family, her brother Charles, her sons, William is the son that I have a greater insight into, feel that absolutely the two things are linked. And what is so heartbreaking for them is this. Not only was their mother thoroughly, let's put some modern language around this. Their mother was groomed and gaslighted and if you like, even coercively controlled by this predatory male. But there comes a point where BBC bosses, Martin Bashir's bosses, knew that he had commissioned these forged bank statements, that he had deployed his forged bank statements, he'd used them, he'd shown them to Diana's brother, and he'd lied about it. Yeah. They knew all those things, but didn't tell Diana about it. And that is the heartbreaking moment for them, that her life need not have gone off the rails in the way it did if they had have briefed her.
Yeah, there is so much to this story, Andy. You put it all together in a book. Congratulations on your work and to shedding light on what has been a terrible chapter for the royal family. Andy's book, Diana Rama, is available for purchase now.